Ahmadi Muslims have been subject to various forms of religious persecution and discrimination since the movement's inception in 1889. The Ahmadiyya stream of Islam emerged from the Sunni tradition of Islam, and its adherents believed in all the 5 pillars and articles of faith required of Muslims. Ahmadis are considered non-Muslims by the mainstream Muslims since they consider Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, founder of Ahmadiyya, as the promised Mahdi and Messiah. Mirza Ghulam Ahmad claimed to be the Mujaddid of the 14th Islamic century, the promised Messiah and Mahdi awaited by Muslims. These claims are rejected by mainstream Muslims. The Ahmadis are active translators of the Quran and proselytizers for the faith. Converts to Islam in many parts of the world first discover Islam through the Ahmadis. However, in a number of Islamic countries, especially Sunni-dominated nations, Ahmadis have been considered heretics and non-Muslim, and subjected to persecution and systematic oppression. Ahmadis are declared as non-Muslims and further deprived of religious rights in a Second Amendment to the Constitution of Pakistan and Ordinance XX. Hundreds of Ahmadis were killed in 1953 Lahore riots, 1974 anti-Ahmadiyya riots and May 2010 attacks on Ahmadi mosques in Lahore. 1974 riots were the largest killings of Ahmadis. Pakistan. For the 5 million Ahmadis, religious persecution has been particularly severe and systematic in Pakistan, which is the only state to have officially declared that Ahmadis are non-Muslims. Pakistani laws prohibit the Ahmadis from identifying themselves as Muslims, and their freedom of religion has been curtailed by a series of ordinances, acts and constitutional amendments. When applying for a Pakistani passport, Pakistanis are required to declare that Mirza Ghulam Ahmad was an impostor prophet and his followers are non-Muslims. As a result, persecution and hate-related incidents are regularly reported from different parts of the country. Ahmadis have been a target of many violent attacks by various religious groups in Pakistan. Madrasas of all sects of Islam in Pakistan prescribe reading materials for their students specifically targeted at refuting Ahmadiyya beliefs. As a result of the cultural implications of the laws and constitutional amendments regarding Ahmadis in Pakistan, persecution and hate-related incidents are regularly reported from different parts of the country. Ahmadis have been the target of many attacks led by various religious groups. All religious seminaries and madrasas in Pakistan, belonging to different sects of Islam, have prescribed essential reading materials specifically targeted at refuting Ahmadiyya beliefs. In a recent survey, students from many private schools of Pakistan expressed their opinions on religious tolerance in the country. The figures assembled in the study reflect that even among the educated classes of Pakistan, Ahmadis are considered the least deserving minority in terms of equal opportunities and civil rights. The teachers from these elite schools showed lower levels of tolerance towards Ahmadis than their pupils. Another example is Abdus Salam, the only recipient of the Nobel Prize for Physics who identified as a Muslim. For his mere allegiance to the Ahmadiyya sect, he had been ignored and excommunicated. There are no monuments or universities named after him. The word Muslim has been erased from his gravestone. 1953 and 1953 At the instigation of religious parties, anti-Ahmadiyya riots erupted in Pakistan, killing scores of Ahmadi Muslims and destroying their properties. There was severe agitations against the Ahmadis, including street protests, political rallies, and inflammatory articles. These agitations led to 200 Ahmadi deaths. Consequently, Governor-General Ghulam Muhammad implemented martial law and dismissed Pakistan's federal cabinet. 1974 riots and constitutional amendment. In 1974, a violent campaign, led mainly by the Majlis-e-Islam and Jamaat-e-Islami, began against the Ahmadiyya Muslim community in Pakistan, on the pretext of a clash between Ahmadis and non-Ahmadis at the railway station of Rubwa. This campaign resulted in several Ahmadi casualties and destruction of Ahmadiyya property, including the desecration of mosques and graves. As a result of pressure from this agitation, legislation and constitutional changes were enacted to criminalize the religious practices of Ahmadis by preventing them from claiming they are Muslim or from behaving as Muslims. These changes primarily came about due to the pressure of the Saudi king at the time, King Faisal bin Assad, according to Dr. Mubashir Hassan, Prime Minister Bhutto's close confidant at the time. Pakistan's parliament adopted a law that declares Ahmadis non-Muslims. The country's constitution was amended to define a Muslim as a person who believes in the finality of the Prophet Muhammad. Ordinance XX of 1984. On 26 April 1984, General Muhammad Zia-ul-Haq, the President of Pakistan, issued the Anti-Ahmadiyya Ordinance XX, which effectively prohibited Ahmadis from preaching or professing their beliefs. The ordinance, which was supposed to prevent anti-Islamic activities, forbids Ahmadis to call themselves Muslim or to pose as Muslims. This means that they are not allowed to profess the Islamic creed publicly or call their places of worship mosques. Ahmadis in Pakistan are also barred by law from worshipping in non-Ahmadi mosques or public prayer rooms, performing the Muslim call to prayer, using the traditional Islamic greeting in public, publicly quoting from the Quran, preaching in public, seeking converts, or producing, publishing, and disseminating their religious materials. These acts are punishable by imprisonment of up to 3 years. Ordinance XX and the 1974 amendment to the Constitution effectively gave the state the exclusive right to determine the meaning of the term Muslim within Pakistan. Many Ahmadis were arrested within days of the promulgation of this ordinance, and it gave way for widespread sanctioned as well as non-sanctioned persecution. In 1986 it was supplemented by a new blasphemy provision also applied to Ahmadis. Shab Qadar incident. The Shab Qadar incident was a public stoning of 2 members of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community in the town of Shab Qadar, in the northwest frontier province, Pakistan in April 1995. Dr. Rashid Ahmad and his son-in-law, Riaz Ahmad Khan, were attacked as they were about to attend a court hearing in Shab Qadar. As they entered the court premises, a violent mob incited by local clerics attacked the men with sticks and stones. Riaz Khan was stoned to death and his dead body stripped and dragged through the town on a rope. Dr. Rashid Ahmad was taken to a hospital in Peshawar with serious injuries. A third Ahmadi, advocate Bashir Ahmad, escaped unhurt. This murder took place in front of the police. Riaz Khan even asked a police officer for help, but instead of helping, the officer pushed him away. According to Amnesty International, the police stood and watched, and later pleaded that they could not have intervened in a situation like that. No one was detained or criminally charged for the killing. The victims, senior Ahmadiyya community members from Peshawar, had come from the provincial capital to file a bail application for another Ahmadi Muslim, Daulat Khan. Daulat Khan had been harassed following his conversion to the sect. Local Muslim clergy reportedly called for his death. Daulat Khan had been arrested and imprisoned on 5 April 1995 under Sections 107 and 151 of the Penal Code, after the lynching of Rashid Ahmad and Riaz Ahmad Khan. Daulat Khan remained in custody and was further charged with posing as a Muslim and preaching Ahmadiyyat and insulting the religious sentiments of Muslims. Urdu novelist Mustansar Hussain Tara made a reference to this event in his novel Raq, 2000. On 30 October 2000, gunmen opened fire at an Ahmadiyya prayer meeting in the Pakistani province of Punjab, killing at least 5 worshippers and wounding another 7. 2005. On 7 October 2005, masked gunmen with Kalashnikov rifles stormed a mosque belonging to the Ahmadiyya Muslim community in a village called Mongin district Mandi, Barodin, shooting dead 8 people and wounding 14. 2008, 2 prominent members of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community were murdered on 8 and 9 September 2008 after a program by Amir Liaquat Hussain, provoking people to kill Ahmadis, was aired on a prominent Pakistani television channel GOTV Day earlier on 7 September 2009. During the year 2009, 11 Ahmadis were killed, while numerous others became victims of attempted killings. According to a report titled Persecution of Ahmadis in Pakistan during the year 2009, published by Nazirat-ul-Murri Aama Sadr Anjuman Ahmadiyya, Pakistan, the report claimed that the actions of Ahmadi opponents had been encouraged largely by the prejudiced attitude of the authorities, and alleged that the federal government had been in denial of the human rights and religious freedom of the Ahmadis, especially the governments of Punjab and Azad Jammu and Kashmir. 2010 April. Around 10 p.m. on 1 April 2010, 3 Ahmadis were returning home in their vehicle from their jewelry and cloth shops situated in Rail Bazaar in Faisalabad. As their car approached the canal road near Faisal Hospital, 4 or 5 unidentified militants in a white car ambushed them. The 3 Ahmadis were seriously injured when the men opened fire at them. The attackers managed to flee from the scene. The 3 men died before they reached the hospital. May Lahore attacks. On 28 May 2010, 2 mosques in Lahore belonging to the Ahmadiyya Muslim community were attacked by the Tehrik-i-Taliban Pakistan Punjab wing. The attacks were carried out nearly simultaneously at Mosque Darul al-Zdik at Gura Shahu and Mosque Bait al-Noor, Lahore Model Town, 15 kilometers apart. More than 90 people were killed and 108 were injured in the incident. 1 attacker was killed, another was captured by worshippers. 3 days later, militants attacked the intensive care unit of Lahore's Jinnah Hospital, where victims and one of the alleged attackers were under treatment. 12 people, mostly police officers and hospital staff, were killed in the shootout. The assailants escaped. The Pakistani government did nothing to prevent this. As of yet, they have not set up protection for Ahmadis. As of May 28, 2013, the 2 attackers captured had not been prosecuted, but early in 2015 courts took up the case and proceeded with sentencing. On 31 May 2010, an Ahmadi was stabbed to death and his son seriously injured when an activist climbed the wall of their house with a dagger and attacked them. The son later died in hospital from serious wounds. The attacker escaped. Residents say that the assailant threatened to not leave any Ahmadi alive after having found motivation to kill them through a sermon given by a local fanatical Sunni cleric. 2011 On 7 September 2011, the mainstream Urdu newspaper Daily Jang published a special edition against Ahmadis. Throughout the year, Ahmadi students and teachers in the Pakistan's Punjab province have been systematically persecuted by schools and universities. The harassment has included social boycott, expulsions, threats and violence by students, teachers and principals of the Muslim-majority sect. In education, Ahmadi students faced discrimination in Pakistan in 2011 because of their faith. 2012 In Faisalabad, Quranic verses were removed from Ahmadi graves by the police. December 3, 2012, in Lahore, over 100 tombstones at an Ahmadiyya graveyard in Lahore were desecrated in the wee hours of Monday by masked gunmen, who specifically targeted graves with Islamic inscriptions. They proclaimed themselves members of a banned organization, and said the Ahmadis had no right to use Quranic verses on the gravestones. as they are not Muslims. The Human Rights Commission of Pakistan condemned the destruction of over 100 tombstones at an Ahmadi graveyard on Monday, and demanded the arrests of those responsible. Anti-Ahmadis sentiment in media. Islamic fundamentalism and Islamic extremism existed in the Pakistani media, causing them to start a hate campaign against Ahmadis. 2013 January 7, 2013. 4 Ahmadi employees of Black Arrow printing press accused of publishing allegedly blasphemous books were arrested as they loaded a small truck with thousands of books and CDs. On February 13, an additional district and sessions judge on Tuesday rejected an application for after-arrest bail by 4 men accused of publishing allegedly blasphemous books about the Ahmadi faith. March 26, 2013. Local clerics attacked a house belonging to an Ahmadi family in the Shamsabad, a village of Kasur district of Punjab on Tuesday, and subjected the family members to violence allegedly over their religious belief. The 5 members of Mansour's family tried to take refuge in a room, but the mob broke into the room as well. Mansour was severely tortured, after which he lost consciousness, while his wife and his 70-year-old uncle were also beaten. Police personnel were reportedly present at the spot but took no action against the mob. International Human Rights Commission Punjab Director General Munawar Ali Shahid said, "Several people here have told me that the Ahmadis had been socially boycotted for long. Police have taken no action to stop violence against them." April 30, 2013. In Lahore, Gulshan-i Ravi police arrested 7 members of the Ahmadi community on Monday without infer, after close to 300 people protested in front of what was described as a place of worship of the community. A woman and her 10-year-old son were also arrested, although no female members of the police accompanied them. May 8, 2013. Members of the Khatem Nabuwat Lawyers Forum and police dragged 5 members of the Ahmadi community from an anti-terrorist court to a police station and detained them for several hours. 2014 May 2014. American-Canadian Dr. Mehdi Ali Kamar was gunned down while visiting Punjab, Pakistan to help train local doctors. 100 Ahmadiyas took refuge in China after their lives were in danger in Pakistan. 3 members of the same family, including 1 woman and 2 minors, were killed and 9 other people were injured when an angry mob set a house on fire in Arafat Colony, Gujranwala. Persecution of Ahmadi students. Ahmadi students has faced extremist persecutions because of their faith in most popular universities and colleges of Pakistan, including University of Sargodha,